Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a hot take request. I forget who the heck. Damn it, I forgot who sent me this comment. Somebody sent me a link. Uh, he had a weird name, a weird avatar name, like the Luciferian something. Oh, the Luciferian Outlaw. Yeah, that's him. Luciferian Outlaw 13 sent me this link, and he wanted me to talk about the Kafka trap. And this is important if you argue with SJWs and people on the left. And this you're probably already familiar with, but let's go over it. Author Eric Raymond coined the term Kafka trapping in his 2010 article, in which he presented a style of argument that's common today with SJWs, but it has its origins in The Trial, a book written in 1915 by Franz Kafka. In the trial, the protagonist is arrested and accused of serious crimes, which are never specified. He receives no explanation or description of the charges, and his refusal to acknowledge that he must be guilty is what makes him guilty. The only way to stop his abuse is to admit that he is guilty. What is the Kafka trap? The Kafka trap, you are accused of being racist, sexist, bigot, fascist, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, misogynist, bad guys from World War II, leader of bad guys from World War II, etc. Any attempt to argue or deny and defend yourself is seen as proof of guilt. Denial is proof of guilt. You're guilty until proven innocent. Model A. Your refusal to acknowledge that you are guilty of racism confirms that you are guilty of racism. Model C. I don't know why they jumped to C. Even if you do not feel you are guilty of racism, you are guilty because you have benefited from the racist behaviors of others in the system. That's critical race theory right there. Model D. The act of demanding a definition of racism that can be consequently checked and falsified proves you are a racist. That's a lot of the Reddit people go down that path. Model L. Your insistence on applying rational skepticism in evaluating assertions of pervasive racism itself demonstrates that you are racist. Yep, that's more SJW nonsense. That's the person in Reddit I argued with in the South Jersey subreddit. I think a lot of that, it was a lot of goalpost moving. Model M. The act of arguing against the theory of anti-racism demonstrates that you are either racist or do not understand the theory of anti-racism, and your argument can therefore be dismissed as either corrupt or incompetent. Model P. Even though you do not feel yourself to be guilty of racism, you are guilty because you have a privileged position in the racist system. Model S. Skepticism about any particular anecdotal account of racism or any attempt to deny that particular anecdote implies a systematic problem in which you are one of the guilty parties is itself sufficient to establish your guilt. Model T. Designated victims of racism who question any part of the theory of racism demonstrate by doing so that they are not authentic members of the victim class. So their experience can be discounted and their thoughts dismissed as internalized racism. This is happening to a lot of the black YouTubers and black conservatives on YouTube. And a lot of other people of color who have demonstrated support for Trump. They are immediately called out. Candace Owens. I mean, this is definitely what they nail her with. Model J. Even if your innocence is proven in a court of law, this not only confirms your guilt, it also confirms the guilt of the legal system that found you're innocent. In summary, you are now trapped in a circular and unfalsifiable argument. No one is accused can be innocent because the structure of Kafka trapping precludes that possibility. Just accept the facts, quote unquote. And again, this all goes back to critical race theory. All white people are racist. It is impossible for a black person to be racist. Believe women or you're a rape apologist. Gender is a social construct. There are no biological differences between men and women. You have white privilege regardless of your circumstances. All lives matter is hate speech. And then they offer some tips on how to deal with a Kafka trap. If presented with a Kafka trap, do not try to argue or deny it because your words will be twisted and used against you. In fact, any attempt to argue, deny, or defend yourself will be seen as proof of guilt, and SJWs and trolls might see things like, deny, 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 there's no smoke without fire, methinks thou dost protest too much. My advice, ignore it. If possible, put the shoe on the other foot and reverse the accusation. See how they like it. The Kafka trap is a form of argument that is so fallacious and manipulative that those subjected to it are entitled to reject it based entirely on the form of the argument, without any reference to whatever particular sin, thought crime is being alleged. And that was Eric Raymond who said that. And then, this site has 7 linguistic tricks people use to deceive and manipulate you under life lessons. I won't get into the other ones. You can go and read this yourself, but I think the Kafka trap is just rife on the internet, especially on social media, especially with the woman I was arguing with in the South Jersey subreddit. I assume it was a woman. I don't know. It's just, you cannot argue anything. And I would add, they would call you a Trump supporter as a negative. I don't think it's a negative, but I just think it's being a Trump supporter, whatever. But that's the way they conflate Trump supporters with all these things as well immediately, and that's part of the problem. I've shown people videos of black Trump supporters, like, well, what about these guys? And they go, well, they're paid off, or anything they could say. That and the Kafka trap, which is, they're not real black people because they support Trump. They're out of their minds. Because in order to acknowledge that black people do support Trump and it's fine, they have to acknowledge that their argument that Trump is that bad isn't true. They'd have to acknowledge, well, I guess he isn't a racist. I guess he isn't trying to kill everybody who comes across the border and put kids in cages and all that nonsense. They'd have to acknowledge that some of the hype that they have swallowed and continue to spout over and over again just isn't true, or it's blown out of proportion, or whatever. And by sticking to this, and the fact that they suffer no consequences from this argument, means that they are safe in their ideological bubbles. So, I know, Joe, it's a Kafka trap. A Kafka trap, doggy. So, when you're arguing with somebody online, there's almost no... You want to come over here? It's just about to wrap. Come on. There's just about no way out. There's just about no way out. And, so I always... I used to take internet arguments to heart a little too much and get caught up in them. Now I just go, well, whatever, dude. And, I just look for a way to just step out after they run out of gas. And they often run out of gas. I mean, that's kind of... You never win an argument on the internet, but you can often just argue people into the ground until they just stop responding. The truly bad ones are the ones that have to get the last word. And even as you stop reacting to them, they continue to react to you. I have a guy like that. He was making noise about Biden winning, and I said, wait for it. And, man, he just sort of lit into me and just said, you're a Trump supporter, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, hey, I think he's going to win. It's not over yet, But, he didn't want to hear it. And then he marked in Reddit, you could do a thing where, like, a week later, a little alarm goes off and you can go back to that comment. So I don't know where we're going to be. Let's see. No, actually, it's already been a week. I guess he already came back and chastised me a second time. I don't know if he's going to come back, say, in 2, 3, 4 weeks when this is finally over and Trump is president. I sincerely doubt he'll come back to gloat or yell at me. But I'm certain he'll come back if Biden somehow gets in. But, at that point, I guess I probably just go, okay, whatever, dude. You can't destroy your whole life. But unfortunately, some of the lefties, they will be crushed when Trump wins, and their Kafka trap will be over.